Morning, everyone, and welcome to our latest online chat. I have two colleagues, or one colleague and a friend today. So we've got David and Jan joining us. So today, with new regulations, the hotel industry faces essential changes, and this is regarding the online payments and reservation guarantees. Today, we're going to show you the best tools and practices which can help hotels to successfully adapt to these changes. So again, I'm delighted to be joined by David and Jan, and they're going to look first at a strategy for Payment Services Directive, and then the Payment Innovation also by Stripe. We're then going to follow this up with a short Q&A session. So first, I'm going to be handing over to David. David is a Global Sales Manager at SabeeApp. He's in charge of making cloud hotel solutions available for a worldwide audience of hoteliers. That's a bit of a mouthful, David. With 10 years of experience in the field of tourism, he's passionate about bringing innovation to the industry. Prior to joining SabeeApp, David worked at Accor Hotels, Eurostar Hotels, and Agoda. So, David, over to you.
Great. Thank you so much for the intro, Kenny. I'm just going to share my screen, start off with the presentation. Just like to ask for a confirmation if you guys can see my screen as well.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, perfect. So we're talking about winning PSD2 strategy for hotels. Kicking it off, I think it's important to get clear on what PSD2 stands for. So it's Payments Services Directive, the second version, which is regulated by the EU. So it basically creates a legal framework for all the payment service providers which operate in the EEA area. It makes online security payment, the security of online payments a lot stricter, a lot more standardized, and safer for everyone. This is going to be important for looking at the hotel industry as well. So higher consumer protection and protection against fraud. It also creates a more fair, level playing field for all the payment service providers operating within the industry, and access to accounts, which helps retrieving bank account information and making bank transfers a whole lot easier. So with more secure online payments, we have to talk about SCA. SCA stands for Strong Customer Authentication. And this is something that we have experienced from our private lives as well as business side. So it's actually confirming, authenticating online transactions when we want to process a payment. How do we do the authentication? Well, there are three options to do that. There's something that the guest knows, which can either be a password or a PIN code that you have to type in. It can be something that the guest owns, a smart device, smartphone, or a tablet to do the authentication. The third option is something that the guest is. So it's either facial recognition or fingerprint scanning to authorize a certain payment. The question comes up that is there any sideways? Is there any way to pass by online transactions without having to do SCA? Well, technically the answer is yes, but it comes with huge limitations. So when we talk about MOTO transactions, which stands for mobile order, telephone order, it is possible to do through certain credit card terminals, but it comes with drawbacks like high chance of chargeback disputes, which is, it's something that we want to avoid like the plague within the industry. It comes with a high risk of fraudulent card details, super high transaction fees. There's a rolling reserve that applies, and obviously you have to purchase this MOTO enabled terminal separately, which is an additional cost, additional hassle. When we talk about the hotel industry in specific, there are four main payment types, payment workflows that we deal with. So let's take a look at what these are. So first of all, we have direct bookings, guests booking directly through the hotel's website. No intermediates, no middlemans involved. Then there are third-party reservations, third-party bookings. There are flexible ones, those bookings which allow for either modification or cancellations within a specific time limit. And there are third-party non-refundable bookings, which are more strict when it comes to payment and cancellation policies. No modifications and no cancellations are allowed. And then the fourth piece is the OTA collect type bookings, which essentially means when the guest is making the booking process through an OTA, they make the payment at the end of that process. So basically, the guest pays to the online travel agency, then the travel agency handles the payment between them and the hotel. When we speak about categories, there are basically two main categories when it comes to payments. We have online payments, speaks for itself when a guest guarantees a booking or reservation with some sort of payment, and there are card present payments, which mean that the guest is actually standing in front of a kiosk or the front desk at the hotel and settles the bill with the credit card. Now, when we talk about strong customer authentication and these types of payments, we have to see what happens if hotels don't adapt to these changes before talking about the actual solution to it. So there are a few ways that this is going to be a disadvantage for hotels. So first of all, there's no way to process transactions for card not present type payments. So before, it was a common industry practice that for reservations, we required a valid credit card guarantee. Now, this charge will not be able to do neither to validate nor to make an actual transaction. Those hotels who don't adapt will be unable to cover cancellation, no-show, or damage penalty fees. They won't be able to secure bookings with these simple credit card guarantees like they used to. And there's a higher risk of chargeback disputes when it comes to motor transactions, if that's the route that they want to take, as well as if anything goes wrong with these payments, with these bookings, the hotel is potentially facing a loss of revenue and reputation. So it's not good. But there is a solution actually, and the solution going forward is to directly involve the guests into these payment workflows, which is a different perspective, different angle, but luckily technology can already provide the tools to do that. So let's take a look on how this would work in practice. So the solution that we have implemented covers three payment workflows. So we have the IBA payment. This is valid for direct bookings. When a guest visits the hotel website, goes onto the booking engine, selects the room and rate, and then they can make the payment there online at the end of the booking process. Really simple. The second scenario is involves the flexible and non-refundable bookings to come through OTAs or any other source of booking channels. For these scenarios, we have an online prepayment that is requested from the guest and in a fully automated way. And then there's the third scenario, which is the OTA collect type bookings, when the payment has been completed on the OTA side, after which the OTA issues a virtual credit card, or a VCC for short, for the hotel, sends over the information, and the sum available on this VCC is the booking value minus the OTA's commission or marketing fees. So the hotel can take payment from this VCC. All of these scenarios are seamlessly integrated with the SabeeApp PMS, because that's the best way how a system can work. And our partner is Stripe, processing all the transactions in the background, all the successful transaction fee payments are transferred over to the Stripe merchant account directly. So just taking a look at these three scenarios in a bit more detailed way. So we have the guest going on to the hotel's internet booking engine, selects the room type and the rate plan, and then can see real-time availability of the hotel. Adding to the shopping cart essentially is the accommodation, any extra services that the hotel offers as an add-on, and all taxes and other fees that apply based on the region. All of this is involved in the booking process, and then the end or the final step, the guest selects credit card payment. A pop-up shows to enter the credit card details, and then essentially just pays now. Instant confirmation is received after a successful transaction, and that's basically it. It's fully automated. Then when we talk about flexible non-refundable bookings from other sources and payments related to these, the hotel defines a payment and cancellation policy to each one of these rate plans, and then based on the rate plan that the booking comes through, there is an automatic communication coming from the PMS directly to the guest, and then they are redirected to a customer portal, which is an online platform where the guest can view the booking details, the payment terms, booking value. And on this platform, they can fulfill the prepayment request, guaranteeing that the hotel will actually hold the room for the guest's arrival. Strong customer authentication, just like in the last scenario, is fulfilled here, since the guest is requested to authenticate this online payment on their own, so they actually do the confirmation for themselves. Any booking where this prepayment is not fulfilled, there's a list, there's notifications going for the hotel, so they are in fact aware on who's yet to fulfill this notification, and then the hotel can take the necessary steps, basically. And then the final scenario is the VCC charge. So all prepaid types bookings coming over from Booking.com, Agoda, or Expedia, VCC information is synchronized into the PMS system. Then the hotel is notified based on the activation date once the card becomes available and active, and then either can select one by one or bulk select multiple VCC cards to charge with essentially one click. Again, transaction goes through, and the payment and the amount goes through to the Stripe merchant account. Specific to SabeePay, we try to keep everything really transparent and understandable, easy to understand. So there's only a convenience fee involved from our part, which is 0.5% per successful transaction. It's a pay-as-you-go model, so no risks, no fixed monthly fees involved. Plus, all the hassle and revenue loss can be saved for hotels by avoiding chargeback disputes. Since all of these scenarios, the guest actually confirms and authenticates the payment, which leaves no room for disputes. Connection process, again, we try to keep it simple. You have to register your Stripe merchant account. You can connect that account to your SabeeApp account under the marketplace, and you can just review your payment and cancellation terms. If everything is good, click live, and SabeePay and all of these automatic workflows go live and do all the work for you, basically. So that's a wrap from my part. Thank you so much for the time. I'll switch off my screen and then give the word back to Kenny.
David, thanks very much for that. Really informative and good to share your thoughts with us all. So Jan, I'm delighted to introduce you to everyone. So Jan is the account executive at Stripe. Jan works with a user base in Central and Eastern Europe and the Mediterranean countries. He's primarily focused on growing startups. He's a hotel school graduate as well and has experience working in hotels and also with Booking.com. So Jan, I'm delighted to hand over the screen to you.
Thank you very much, Kenny. Just double checking, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
All good.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for inviting me over to your webinar. We're very certainly, from a Stripe's perspective, we're very happy to partner with SabeeApp with the new product SabeePay and facilitate this. For your hotel partners. It's really cool. So I just wanted to basically follow up on what David said and increase just the context and awareness of what makes a payment successful, and just maybe share a couple of tips and tricks that the SabeePay integration will actually enable you to conduct business better and retain more high value clients for the long term. So without further ado, this is an overview of how transactions actually happen on Stripe. So the main thing about a successful hotel booking is conversion, right? You can put in a lot of effort into making a beautiful website, but at the end of the day, people see something, they want to buy it. The most frustrating thing ever is then an unsuccessful transaction. You're very likely to lose that customer. And also what this basically shows here is our take on how a lifetime value of a customer is calculated. So the legacy and traditional way was that you measure authentication rates as a percentage. However, not all customers are really worth the same amount, right? If a customer is making a booking for €1,000, they're worth more than a customer who's making a booking for €200. Hence, it's really critical to really have that each authorization correct and make sure that the lifetime value of all the customers adds up over time, especially the ones that really care about the experience in a very competitive marketplace. Right here, your inventory is available on third-party websites that have conversion and payments nailed. As well as there are other competing hotels that they can shop around in. So it's very important to have in mind the payment experience be as good as you can possibly offer it. So with that conversion question in mind, another thing that SabeeApp and SabeePay will enable via the Stripe partnership is essentially access to our global payment and transaction network, which is the partnerships that Stripe has built all over the world, essentially, so you don't have to, improving your authorization rates, as well as, which is very key, allowing you access to local payment methods. So local payment methods are, everybody knows cards like Visa and MasterCard, Amex, but in many geographies, they're just simply not the primary payment tools, right? And you have customers in Asia or in China specifically, where WeChat Pay and Alipay are the predominant forms of payment, or even more like in Europe, where a huge number of transactions in the Netherlands, for example, are done via the Ideal network. Basically, payments are cultural, and customers want to pay with the way they're familiar with and comfortable and feel safe with. The flip side is doing this by yourself is extremely difficult. So Stripe simplifies it so you don't have to. And SabeeApp is also leveraging this through. Back to the conversion conversation. When David mentioned the three criteria for PSD2, one of them is something that the guest is like a fingerprint or a face recognition scanner. That is a massive conversion booster, and our integrations with Apple Pay and Google Pay would allow that and really increase the number of transactions and the success rates of transactions based on the fact that they're just far more frictionless, and that is all available with your SabeePay integration. So yeah, our technology-driven approach basically informs how we connect you to the global financial ecosystems, and we build the direct integrations with Visa, MasterCard, and all the others, allowing us to provide you with a more reliable platform without any third-party dependencies, increasing your authorization rates and keeping your guests happy, and all in a very compliant manner. The last point that I wanted to touch on here is, by not having local payment methods, we actually studied it. You're literally leaving money on the table, right? The customer is just more likely to, for instance, go to booking.com instead of book with you directly, obviously costing you more money to acquire that customer, because they would have that payment method available. So as you can see, the impact of the payment methods like Ideal or Bank Contact in the Netherlands and Belgium really leads to significant increases in conversions in any kind of e-commerce context. So yeah, just to summarize, with SabeePay and Stripe, in the context of your e-commerce strategy, you'll be able to have a more successful, you'll be offering a more successful and frictionless experience for your customers, which improves their total lifetime value and total satisfaction, because it all begins with that first click when they're making the booking here. Thank you very much. Like David said, if you are looking to start leveraging this, please just reach out to Stripe, and we will be happy to onboard you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Jan. Again, really informative. So I've got a few questions for both of you out with those presentations. So feel free to answer them or pass if you wish. So David, we'll start with you. I guess the first question would be with the Payment Services Directive. How aware do you think hoteliers really are about the changes, and are they set up to be ready to accept these changes?
Well, I think the pandemic certainly delayed this process of being aware that PSD2 is out there. I think many hotels, as they are, travel is picking up again, they start to reopen. They're just now realizing that, hey, there are certain transactions that we cannot do, or why is the credit card terminal not working? Was there any change? So I think this process was delayed, and hotels are still just now picking up on it, and it's certainly prolonged the whole process. So I think the more awareness we can make for it, the better, because many hotels now just realizing that this is actually a requirement will be facing not guaranteed bookings and leaving money on the table. So yeah, this is something where technology can offer a quick solution to.
Yeah, great. I agree. I think it's one of these things that may be quite painful in the first instance for hoteliers, but hopefully in 6 months, a year, it'll be second nature, and everyone will have forgotten this period, so to speak. So yeah, Jan, over to you. You're talking about integrations. I don't know if you can maybe go a bit further with Apple Pay and Google Pay. How much how much is it to integrate these with Stripe?
Well, the good news is there is no extra fee, right? So we were actually one of the first third-party integrators to have Apple Pay. Apple Pay was actually tested in beta version via Stripe, so we were kind of the first in to have it, right? So it is one of the tightest and longest partnerships in that space, if you will, and it's basically just the cost of the underlying card under Apple Pay. As Apple Pay, essentially, it doesn't hold any money. All it is essentially it's an additional verification mechanism, which is actually perfect within the PSD2 context, because there isn't the need for a password or anything that adds additional friction during the checkout process. You just simply either scan your face, hold a fingerprint to it, and there you go. The booking is made. So it has a really positive impact on any kind of e-commerce application, really.
Great. I didn't know that you did the initial first testing with them. That's really interesting. So David, back to yourselves. How do you reckon guests are going to react to these payment processes? You know, when, let's say, if you're a guest who rocks up to an establishment and you have to, you know, change how you make your payments, how do you think they're going to take it on board?
Well, again, I think they will need time for guests to adapt to these new workflows, as well as hotels. With from the guest perspective, I think from one side it will give them this ease of mind that, okay, I'm in charge of the payments, and there's no, you know, uncertainty that I provide the credit card details to the hotel, and then they'll either do a charge, they'll do a pre-authorization, which is often confusing for the guests. So I think it will, in the long term, make for more secure payments, and, you know, easier or more transparent from the guest side as well. Obviously, this involves technology, so there's people at different levels to how open they are to new technologies. So it's definitely a process, but I think it will bring us to the right direction.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I would tend to agree with you on that. Jan, I guess it's always a question when we're talking about technology. Nothing ever stays still, and it's ever changing. So, you know, what's going to happen with Stripe is, you know, I guess within the next 3 years, let's say, where do you think we're going to be going?
Yeah, that's always you know, the trillion-dollar question, I would say, in the context of e-commerce even, right? But what I think you're going to say, and what is going to be most immediately relevant, you know, especially to hoteliers, I would say, is just the you know, widening of the scope of where you can locally acquire, of how you can run your business from one place, with executing transactions everywhere, and having more payment methods even integrated. Because the fun fact here is the number of local payment methods is actually growing, not shrinking. So the world is almost even becoming more fragmented in that sense. Whereas the trend with a lot of other things is to find commonalities. With payment methods, it's almost the other way around, and you have new ones popping up everywhere. You know, and really. What will determine, I think, each and every single one of them success is obviously adoption, new markets coming online that are digital first, where, you know, where digital transactions kind of have leapfrog cards. Everything is done by phones, QR codes, things like that. So more of these payment methods you'll see, plus other blockchain technologies, right? So we have already, as a matter of fact, taken our first step into integrating blockchain into Stripe. So I just see that becoming more and more common in the years to come.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm going to ask you very quickly just another question, kind of on top of that, and it's something I always have issues with, but it's a discussion point here coming up all the time, and it's, do you see cash, like paper cash, starting to really just disappear? I mean, I don't think it's going to disappear entirely, but I think maybe after the pandemic and people, you know, didn't want to touch things, it was much easier to tap and go. Do you reckon it's kind of the end of physical currency?
Yeah, I mean, in the context of, let's say, I think governments would love to see the end of currency. It's just social resistance that is the only thing that is basically stopping it from happening now. So I think more and more people are going to be, you know, getting less and less used to handling cash, and it might just phase out naturally without resistance. If it were up to governments, I would say cash would already be a thing of the past. Rightly or wrongly, in my personal opinion, I think it is a bit of a limiting thing, you know, from a freedom perspective, but it is something that yeah, is going to be less prevalent over time.
Yeah, I guess it's maybe it's a generational thing as well, and also there are other countries and areas where maybe technology isn't as far forward. So actually, kind of physical currency is still king.
That's another thing, Kenneth. You know, in a lot of these countries, let's say in the developing world, a lot of like card terminals never existed at merchants. But for example, in India right now, every merchant can almost street vendors accept payments via their mobile devices, right? So it kind of leapfrogged the card era, and they went directly to something else, really eliminating cash. And they had a demonetization drive a couple of years ago where they just eliminated 85% of the currencies in an attempt to, you know, I guess clean up illegal money. So yeah, that's a result of it. So you see that a lot in which is fascinating, right? It's like with the internet, a lot of the developing countries went straight to 3G without having DSL internet connections. It's very similar with payments and money movement.
Yeah, no, it's that. Yeah, it's a good point actually. Yeah, interesting. So, David, last question for you. Again, goes back to technology ever changing. What's next for SabeeApp? What's coming down the development line?
Yeah. So next up is we have an application suite available for the guests to make the hotel operation even more transparent for them. It involves everything from online check-in, ID scanning, booking additional services, and so on. Sort of like a digital version of what originally a concierge or a front desk agent was doing at hotels. We will implement payments into these applications. So essentially now the guest is able to, for example, book a massage or an airport transfer with the hotel through this application. But we wanted to take it to the next level and give the option for the guest to actually make the payment through the application. And with SabeePay, that's going to be possible. So that will open up a whole new territory for hotels to make payments easier and transparent for guests, and increase their revenue potential.
Excellent, good. Jan, same last question for you today. How many currencies currently can we accept payments in?
So the last count, I think it's around 45. It's somewhere in and around that. Basically, everywhere in the European Union now. Croatia is the latest country to launch. We're also adding Gibraltar and Liechtenstein. So obviously smaller territories, but basically we have all of the European Economic Area covered, and more countries are going online. With each and every quarter, so to speak. But because Stripe really pays attention to building the local relationship with local banking partners for payouts, local acquiring, we never rely on third parties. Again, just to make sure that we have full control of how the money flows, and there are no third party dependencies or points of failure. Launching a country is a significant effort, but once it's done right, and you have the full capability of the Stripe network within each and every one. So by last count, I believe it's 45. I might be one or two wrong, give or take.
Fantastic. Well, hopefully you get to 50 soon enough in the not too distant future. So, gentlemen, that comes to the end. So thank you very much for joining me for this short chat today. David, good to see you as always, and Jan, good to have you joining us this time, and hopefully maybe in the future we can have you again back on with some new developments at Stripe. But real pleasure to chat with you today.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen. And to everyone else, we'll be back on soon with another webinar. And just check our website and our social media pages, and we'll have some more information coming up shortly.